They say a lie can travel halfway around the world, while the truth is still putting on its shoes. But in courtroom 3B of the Chester County Courthouse, the truth wasn't putting on shoes. It was already sitting in the witness box, and it was wearing a polyester uniform and sensible white sneakers. Her name was Martha, and she was about to burn their whole world down. You have to understand where we were, not some big city courthouse with marble floors and cameras. This was West Chester, Pennsylvania, old money, old families, the kind of place where the judges go to church with the defendants. The defendant was Susan Miller, 28 years old, pretty, the kind of pretty that makes other women's husbands forget their anniversaries. She was on trial for first-degree murder. Her husband, Robert Vance, 72 years old, worth $40 million, was found at the bottom of his marble staircase, neck broken. The prosecution, a man named David Hayes who smiled like a shark, stood up and told the jury exactly what happened. He said Susan married Robert for the money. He said Robert was changing his will. He said Susan pushed him. Simple, clean, easy to swallow. Susan sat there in a beige blazer, crying silent tears, shaking her head. Her lawyer, a tired old public defender named Bill, looked like he'd rather be fishing. The jury was eating it up. 11 women, 1 man. They were looking at Susan like she was a stain on their Sunday tablecloth. Then Bill called his first witness. Martha. She walked to the stand. She was 60-something. Black. Her hair was pulled back tight. She didn't look at the jury. She looked at the floor. Bill asked her the basics. Where do you work? The Oakwood Diner. How long? 15 years. Did you know Robert Vance? Yes, sir, she said. Her voice was low, gravelly. He came in every Tuesday, sat in booth 4. And did you know his wife, Susan? She came sometimes, mostly just him. David Hayes, the prosecutor, stood up for cross-examination. He buttoned his jacket. He thought this was a joke, a waste of time. Martha, he said condescendingly, you're a waitress, correct? Yes, sir. You serve coffee. You take orders. Yes, sir. So you're an expert on what? Pancakes? A few people chuckled. Martha didn't blink. I'm an expert on people who think nobody's listening, she said. The room went quiet. Hayes smiled. Right, well, did you ever hear Robert Vance threaten his wife? No. Did you ever see him hit her? No. So you have no idea what went on in their marriage? I didn't say that. Hayes paused. Objection non-responsive. Sustained, the judge said, bored. Martha, just answer the question. Martha looked up, right at Hayes. I said I did *C him hit her. I said I didn't hear him threaten her, but I know what he did. And what was that? Hayes sneered. He humiliated her, Martha said, every Tuesday for an hour. Hayes rolled his eyes. Objection, speculation. Overruled, the judge said, suddenly interested. He leaned forward. Go on, Martha. Martha folded her hands. He'd sit in booth 4. She'd sit across from him. He'd talk *at her, not to asterisk her. He'd correct her grammar. He'd tell her she was using the wrong fork. He'd ask her questions about his business, questions she couldn't possibly know the answer to, and when she got it wrong, he'd laugh. Susan stopped crying. She was staring at Martha. He'd say things like, Susan, darling, try to keep up. It's not that hard. He'd do it loud enough for the whole diner to hear. He wanted people to look. He wanted them to see he was the smart one, and she was the decoration. Hayes interrupted. So the man was a snob. That's not a crime. No, Martha said. It's not, but it's a reason. A reason for what? For her to stop caring. The air in the room changed. It got heavy. Hayes tried to recover. So you're saying Susan had a motive. That's helpful for *me*, Martha. Thank you. I'm not saying she killed him, Martha said softly. Then what * are you saying? Martha took a breath. I'm saying Robert Vance wasn't just mean to his wife. He was mean to everyone. She turned her head, slowly, and she looked at the front row. where Elaine was sitting. Elaine Vance, Robert's daughter, 45 years old, the grieving child, the one who found the body, the one the whole town felt sorry for. She was wearing black pearls. She looked like a schoolteacher. Martha pointed a finger at her. Especially her. Elaine's face went white. Objection, Hayes yelled. Relevance. Sustained, the judge said. Martha, stick to the victim and the defendant. But she's the reason I'm here, Martha said. Her voice didn't shake, not an inch. The judge hesitated. He looked at Elaine, then he looked at Martha. Explain. Martha leaned into the microphone. 2 weeks before Robert died, a Tuesday, it was raining. The diner was empty, just Robert and Elaine. She paused, let the silence hang. They were in booth 4. I was wiping the counter. I had my back to them, but the diner, it's small. The sound carries, especially when people are yelling. Elaine stood up. Your Honor, this is absurd. My father and I had a wonderful... Sit down, Ms. Vance, the judge snapped. Elaine sat. Her hands were trembling. Go on, Martha, the judge said. Elaine was crying, Martha said. Not little tears, big, ugly sobs. She was begging him. Begging for what? Hayes asked, nervous now. Money, Martha said. Her husband, what's his name? Tom, had lost their house, foreclosure. They were living in a motel. Elaine was asking Robert for a loan, $50,000. Hayes shrugged. A father helping a daughter, so. Robert laughed at her, Martha said. The room was dead silent. You could hear the clock ticking. He laughed, and then he said, Elaine, you married a loser, just like your mother. I'm not bailing out bad genetics. You should have married for money, like Susan did. At least she's smart enough to know she's dumb. A gasp from the jury box. Susan covered her mouth. Elaine was staring at the table. That's a lie, Elaine screamed. Order, the judge banged the gavel. Ms. Vance, one more outburst and I hold you in contempt. Hayes was sweating. Martha, are you sure? That's a very specific quote. I have ears, Martha said. And I have a brain, I remember things. He told her she was stupid. He told her she was a disappointment. He told her that if he changed his will, and he was changing it, she'd get nothing. He was going to leave it all to Susan, to spite her. Hayes sat down. He looked defeated. He didn't have a question. Bill, the public defender, stood up. He looked like he'd just been handed a winning lottery ticket. Martha, Bill said gently. After he said that, what did Elaine do? Martha looked at Elaine, a long, hard look. She stopped crying. She stopped. Yes. Real sudden, like a switch flipped. She took a napkin, wiped her face, took a sip of her coffee, and she looked at him. How did she look at him? Like he was a bug, Martha said. Like he was something on her shoe she needed to scrape off. Did she say anything? Yeah, she leaned in close, real close, and she whispered something. Could you hear it? Most of it, she said. You're right, Daddy. I did marry a loser. But you made a mistake thinking you were smarter than everyone in the room. The courtroom was frozen. And then, Bill asked. And then she smiled, Martha said. It was the scariest thing I ever saw, not a mad smile, a happy one. She patted his hand and said, Don't worry, I won't ask for money again. You won't have to worry about me at all. Elaine stood up again. Her chair scraped the floor. She's lying, Elaine shrieked. She's a senile old liar. She hates me. She's always hated this family. Do you know this woman? The judge asked Elaine. I have seen her, at the diner. She's rude. Have you ever spoken to her? Elaine hesitated. No. Then how do you know she hates you? Elaine had no answer. She collapsed back into her seat. But we weren't done. Bill turned back to Martha. Martha, the night Robert died, were you working? Number Tuesday was my day off. But you were there. I was. Why? I left my purse in the booth the day before. I went back to get it, around 10 o'clock at night. And what did you see? This was it, the moment the air left the room. Martha closed her eyes for a second. I saw Elaine's car. The The Lexus parked across the street. In the dark, lights off. Hayes jumped up. Objection, it was dark. She couldn't see who was in the car. The street light was out, Martha said calmly. But the dashboard light was on. I saw her profile. She was just sitting there, watching the house. What time was this? 10:15. And when did the police say Robert died? Between 9 and 11, Bill said. So she was there, Martha said, in the window of time. Objection, speculation. Overruled. Ms. Vance, take the stand. Elaine didn't move. I said, take the stand, Ms. Vance. She walked up. She looked sick. Hayes was trying to save her. Elaine, you were just checking on your father. Yes, Elaine said. Her voice was thin. I was worried. He wasn't answering his phone. Did you go in? No, I saw the lights were off. I figured he was asleep. I went home. You didn't see Susan? No. Martha let out a sound, a small scoff, a laugh without any humor. What's so funny? Hayes snapped at her. She's lying, Martha said. You're not on the stand. She's lying, Martha repeated, looking at the jury. Because I saw Susan's car, too. Where? Pulling out of the driveway, at 10:30. So if Susan pushed him at 10:15, she wouldn't be leaving at 10:30. She'd be hysterical, calling 911, running around. Maybe she panicked. Maybe she left and came back. No, Martha said. I know panic. I've seen panic. That wasn't panic. She was singing. I saw her tapping the steering wheel. She looked light, like a weight was gone. The jury looked at Susan. Susan looked confused. And Elaine, Martha continued. If you were just checking on him, why were you hiding? Why were your lights off? Why didn't you knock? Elaine stared at Martha, pure hate in her eyes. I told you, Elaine hissed. I saw the lights off. You saw Susan leave, Martha said. It wasn't a question. It was a statement of fact. Elaine didn't answer. You waited for her to go, Martha said, and then you went in. That's insane, Elaine screamed. I found him. I called the police. You called them 40 minutes later, Martha said. Why? I was in shock. No, you were making sure he was dead. You went down those stairs, you saw him, and you waited. You let him lie there because you needed him to be dead. If he was just hurt, he'd talk. Tell the police about the fight, about the will, about how you begged him for money. I didn't kill him. Elaine was hyperventilating. You didn't have to push him, Martha said. Her voice dropped to a whisper. The whole room leaned in. Robert had a heart condition, bad one. He carried nitroglycerin pills in his shirt pocket. So, Hayes asked. So, Martha said. When I found him, the paramedics were working on him. They cut his shirt open to put the pads on. She paused. His pocket was empty. The silence was absolute. The police report, Bill said, flipping through papers, says no medication found on person. That's right, Martha said. But he asterisk always had them. Always, I saw him take them twice. He'd tap his pocket. My little lifesavers, he called them. So where are they? The judge asked. Martha looked at Elaine. She took them. Elaine's face crumbled. What? Hayes asked. She went in. She saw him at the bottom of the stairs. Maybe he was just winded. Maybe he was groaning. She knelt down. She hugged him. Oh, Daddy, oh, Daddy. Martha acted it out, her voice mocking. And while she was hugging him, she reached into his pocket, and she took the pills. That's impossible to prove, Hayes stammered. Is it? Martha asked. You search her house, her car, her purse that night. Hayes looked at the detective in the back. The detective shook his head. No, she was the witness, the grieving daughter. We didn't search her. She threw them in a storm drain on the way home, Martha said. Or in the trash at the motel. Doesn't matter. They're gone. Why? The judge asked. Why take the pills? Because if he lived, Martha said, he'd tell them what she said. Tell them she threatened him. But if he died, it's a tragic accident. The greedy young wife pushed him. The daughter gets the money. The circle closes. Elaine was shaking her head. No, no, no. You used her, Martha said, pointing at Susan. You used that poor girl, you saw how he treated her, you saw how much she hated him, and you thought perfect, the perfect Patsy. Susan was sobbing now. Not sad sobs, angry sobs. She stood up. You knew, Susan screamed at Elaine. You knew he was going to cut you out, and you let me take the blame. Order, order. But it was over. You could see it in the jury's eyes. The shift, the realization. It wasn't the wife. It was the daughter. The one who looked just like them. The one who went to their church. But Martha wasn't done. There's one more thing, she said. Everyone froze. The will. What about the will? Hayes asked. Robert came in the day before he died. The Monday, he was happy, giddy. Why? He told me. He said he was changing it, cutting Elaine out, leaving everything to a charity, the animal shelter. What? Elaine gasped. He said, Martha quoted, Elaine thinks she's entitled, but I'm going to die with the last laugh. Let her live in that motel. The dogs will eat better than she does. Elaine let out a sound like a wounded animal. That's why, Martha said. That's the real motive, not just the money, the spite asterisk. He was going to cut her off completely, humiliate her from the grave. Where is the will? The judge demanded. I don't know, Martha said. But I bet if you dig up that storm drain near the motel, you might find more than just pills. The judge banged the gavel, but nobody was listening. Susan was lunging over the rail, trying to get to Elaine. The bailiffs were holding her back. Elaine was on the floor, hyperventilating. And Martha. She just unbuckled the seat belt of the witness box. She stood up. She walked past the chaos. Past the lawyers screaming. Past the jury starring. She walked out of the courtroom. I was in the hallway. I saw her come out. She didn't look triumphant. She didn't look happy. She looked tired. She walked to the water fountain, drank a cup of water. I walked over to her. I had to know. Martha, I said, how did you know about the pills? She looked at me. Her eyes were old, tired. I didn't, she said. What? I didn't know about the pills. I guessed. You guessed. I watched her face, Martha said. When I said the pocket was empty, she didn't look confused. She looked caught. She wiped her mouth. People like that, they think they're so smart. They think because I wear a uniform, I'm invisible. But we see everything. We're the furniture. Furniture hears everything. She started walking toward the exit. Martha, I called after her. Susan's going free. You saved her. She stopped. She turned around. The light from the window hit her face. Did I? She asked. What do you mean? Elaine is going to prison. Elaine is going to prison, Martha said. But Susan, you think she's innocent. I frowned. Well, yeah, you just proved it. Martha shook her head, a sad, slow smile. Honey, I proved Elaine killed him. I didn't prove Susan did help. My blood ran cold. What? You think Susan didn't know Elaine was there. You think she didn't see the car across the street. Martha leaned in close. I saw Susan's face when she left that night. She looked light. You know why? Because she knew. She knew Elaine was watching. She knew Elaine would finish the job. She drove away and she let her do it. I couldn't speak. Susan got exactly what she wanted, Martha whispered. The money and no husband. Elaine just did the dirty work. But she's innocent, I stammered. Legally. Legally, Martha said. But we're not in a court of law anymore, are we? She turned and walked out the big glass doors. I stood there, in the empty hallway. The verdict hadn't even come in yet. But I knew. Susan would walk. Elaine would rot. And Martha would go back to the diner. And pour coffee. And watch. Because she knew the truth. The truth wasn't that a waitress solved a murder. The truth was, sometimes the only way to win is to let the monsters eat each other. Long pause, the sound of a coffee cup being placed on a saucer. Tell me, if you were on that jury, who would you have believed? the grieving daughter, or the waitress